Stories are the lifeblood of mankind. We told stories before we could tell time. Video games continue that tradition. Here are this year's nominees for Best Story.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Forward Compatible's 2014 Game of the Year show.
In 2015.
We do wait for the conclusion of the year so that we can take games in account that come out all the way up to December 31st.
Yeah.
And sometimes till January.
So those old games are new.
New. So our first category, as Brian just let everyone know, is Story of the Year. Mark, what you think?
I'm giving my Story of the Year to The Wolf Among Us. I really liked the entire game. It was shockingly good. If you have not played it yet, came out some point this year on the disc. Go grab it all. It's worth all the monies. It's I think it's basically going to be about 10 hours worth of a story. If you're into the Fable, comic book series, go grab it.
It's also my story of the year. I've been preaching Fables since before Wolf Among Us, because I was a fan of the comic, and this is a prequel story. Really well done. I feel they fixed a decent amount of the issues that we saw in prior Telltale games as far as the storytelling goes. It wasn't as boring for some of the interactions like Walking Dead was. The color palette, even though it still had the same kind of artistic design as Walking Dead, I think it was more bright, more vibrant, which really helped for the fairy tale type characters.
Yeah.
For my Story of the Year, I'm going with South Park, The Stick of Truth. I absolutely love this game. I've been praising it all year long. It's the funniest video game I've ever played. Not this year, ever. The story was brilliant. It felt like you were playing a South Park movie. I don't even want to call it a South Park episode because of the length. But, it was all in all a great time. If you're a fan of the show, and this is coming from me, it's a turn-based RPG. And
it's like Paper Mario.
Typically your
I
style.
don't like turn-based. So, they really had to make up for the gameplay with, story and all that kind of stuff. And they did it.
It plays exactly like Paper Mario, so if you were ever into that series, that's right up your alley.
Which plays just like Super Mario RPG.
Yeah, that too. And I think, isn't that some of the Mario and Luigi stories too?
It is.
Yeah, if you like those, you'll like the South Park one.
South Park, Stick of Truth.
Yeah, do it.
Wolf Among Us.
Do it.
Sometimes things just don't make sense. You can try to find reason where there is none, but it's a futile gesture. Bacon, table, stamp, shaboobity.
All right, this next category is What the Fuck. This is something we introduced last year for the first time, and it's something that really makes you scratch your head about the industry or a company or a game in general. This is really kind of an open category.
Yeah.
But it's something that makes you go, what the fuck?
It's exactly that. It's that moment in either news, a video, or actual gameplay story, whatever. Did you just kind of stop and you go, what the fuck? Mark.
Without a doubt, I have got to give mine to NHL 15. For as much as awesome as that game is to play, the amount of content and things they cut make absolutely no sense. You cannot skip shifts during your Be a Pro, so you watch the stupid computers play who can't do a simple hockey play. Also, their AI went backwards in so many ways. The fact that you can't draft yourself, they had to add that in 2 months down the line. You're doing a franchise mode and you don't have any control over who you draft. There's so many things that were just base features that were just missing. No shootout mode, no online creative, player and play with your club, the ESHL. What were you thinking? And I also have honorable mention to Watch Dogs.
My what the fuck moment was a game that I have not played yet, but it was marred in tons and tons of awesome images in YouTube videos, and that's Assassin's Creed. I don't know what the hell went wrong with that game.
Talking about Unity, correct?
Unity, yes, with people's faces missing and
That looked pretty
arms going all crazy, and just how it
The
looked-
swimming while
Yes.
the storm.
I thought I was watching an episode of Gary's Mod with how messed up that game was, and 99% of it is still fixed, but people are still reporting glitches to this day that it's still screwing up.
They had over 1,000 people make that game.
Yeah, and none of them could properly
Test
blast
it?
their face. Ugh.
For me, it's a kind of an overarching one when I picked mine. Mine was the industry AAA games as a whole. All the brokenness that came out this year. It started probably midway through the year, and it kept coming out. Like there was I want to say three AAA games worked all year, and two of them got a ton
Most
of
of them are remakes.
two of them got a ton of shit because people didn't know the storm that was coming, and those would be Titanfall and then Destiny. And everybody gives Destiny shit, and we weren't too crazy about it either. But you know what? When the thing came out, it worked. And the same can't be said for Drive Club, and then Assassin's Creed, and then Halo, and then Far Cry, and it just
GTA,
kept going
and
on and
WWE,
on and on.
yeah.
And nothing worked. And it was like, are you kidding? This wasn't like one studio. And I feel bad almost. I do and I don't. I feel bad for the Sony studio that made Drive Club because they caught a ton of shit because they were the first one. And then by the time the other studios started screwing up, everybody's just kind of like, oh, I guess this is how it is now. But, they still should have. We got to stop with all the pre-ordering and all the stuff like that guarantees them money, and wait for the games to come out and check out the review and forfeit that little stupid costume that you got for pre-ordering, because we got to make sure these games work. We're sending a bad signal to the developers out there because we're telling them it's okay to release broken stuff and fix it later on. And the only way to do it is to speak with your wallet. And if you stop buying games till you know they work, they'll get the message. They'll see it in their bottom line. So that's my what the fuck.
There's nothing like time spent with friends, and there's no greater challenge than Mysterious Stranger. These are 2014's best multiplayer games.
Next category up, we have the multiplayer game of the year. This can go across any or all systems, just as long as there's some multiplayer component on the game.
Well, I'll kick it off, and mine, it's when it loads, it's Grand Theft Auto. The missions are riots. The parachuting, the first-person mode which I didn't think would work for him, works great on next gen and adds new element to it. The custom maps, all of those are just so much fun, and I cannot wait for the online heist to come out later this year. I think that's just going to add to it.
My multiplayer game of the year also was GTA. I haven't put this much time into a single game since we used to play multiplayer for Gears. Along with all the problems that it's had, when it does work, it works real well. For instance, Tony and all of us were just playing the other night, ramming each other off the road on motorcycles and giggling like little kids.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Angry Andy rode up and flipped you off on a motorcycle. You were giggling, So when it does work, it's great. And it's definitely one of those games that unlike the run-of-the-mill shooters where they're one-off and like you're on to the next shooter, I think Grand Theft Auto is still very young in its time frame. It's going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
It's just going to continue to grow and grow, and they're going to add new content, and it's really going to become something huge.
As for me, I actually went with Halo, the Master Chief Collection. Just the sheer scope of what is going on. That's another studio that I think has a lot of eyes focused on them, and the game is not as broken as it used to be, and people are still pretending it is in comment sections to rag on it. A lot of it's coming from fanboys and whatnot. The game works pretty well now. Has for over a month. You still get an occasional problem, but you get that across everything. There's just so much to do. It's not even the 4 campaigns that you could play with buddies in co-op, which is still multiplayer. The actual physical multiplayer component the spec op missions. There's just so much to do across all 4 games with all the maps, all released under one
ODST's
roof.
coming soon.
And we're
And
gonna have
and ODST's coming, and I'm pretty sure Reach isn't too far behind, but I think that's the first DLC. So I think ODST was gonna be, but now they gave it away as a as an apology. So to me, yeah, it's definitely able.
Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Sheik is Princess Zelda. Sony takes on Nintendo and Sega. These are the things that kept us talking this year.
This next category is something that kind of took us off guard. It's the surprise of the year. This can encompass games that maybe didn't receive a lot of press, or maybe they kind of flew in under the radar, and then we played it and it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Surprise of the year.
My surprise of the year, I'm actually going to be giving, as a whole, to Telltale. They really surprised me in the last month or two of the year with Tales from the Borderlands, and then Game of Thrones. I think they absolutely nailed the universes and the way those stories are told, and I cannot wait for the rest of the seasons to come out because both of them ended so strong. That also includes Wolf Among Us, the entire thing. All those games were so surprisingly good to me this year.
They also had most of season 2 from Walking
Walking
Dead was this
Dead.
year, wasn't it?
Yes, that is one of the things I'm still working on, but those are the categories, or those games are what make me more surprised in this company. I thought they may fizzle out this year, but they're bigger and stronger than ever, so.
My surprise of the year is Nintendo embracing DLC. I know they did it a little bit with Luigi the year before, but we really saw some strong DLC come from them for Mario Kart and Hyrule Warriors, and coming up we'll get a DLC character for Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
So
and then
it's-
Fire Emblem. Oh, wait, sorry. Their DLC for Fire Emblem has been pretty pathetic the whole time.
Yeah, but I mean, like Mario Kart, they put in the Hylian Cup, the Legend of Zelda stuff in there, which is awesome. It even changes the sound effects of the coins that you pick up to match Legend of Zelda. Hyrule Warriors, overall a mediocre game, has had a ton of DLC that has extended the life of that game drastically. So, mine's Nintendo finally doing something kind of right and embracing DLC in a positive manner.
They'll get it right next Fire Emblem.
For me, I'm going to go with PT, the game we filmed Jason playing.
Peeing his pants?
First of all, I think this is one of the most clever games ever made. And the way that it came out, like, for them, I think I had to beg you guys to try it out.
I knew what it was and I didn't want to touch it.
After the fact. But, see, I remember this when it first got announced. They're like, oh, there's this... Like, Sony was, like, so... Like, they didn't want to spoil anything. They were so nonchalant about it. They're just like, yeah, there's this little thing...
Well, even the description on the store for it.
Yeah, they're like, why don't you maybe check it out if you want to? And I'm like, okay. And I downloaded it like right after the show. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was E3 or PlayStation Experience
I think it was PlayStation
or PAX or something. It was one of them. And that was like kind of one of their closing things. And after the show, they're like, yeah, just, it's called PT, go and download it. And then you look in the store and it's like a tombstone with some trees. And
Yeah,
you're like,
it makes
"What
it
is
seem
this?"
like it's a game about exploring and seeing the world and
Yeah.
finding things.
And then you get into it and you're like, what the hell? And then, this was before all the reviews and the guides and all this crap started flooding.
The guides still don't work. I still can't get the real ending, the trigger. I've played it like 4 more times.
Oh, have you?
During the day.
Yeah, naturally. Man, it kind of made me...
Sorry.
It's all right. So like,
Finally getting in the game.
So all the guides and stuff started pouring out, and they help you, and you discover new tricks. And maybe they're not perfect yet, but they do show you some stuff because I've checked them out after the fact. But I remember that first time sitting down and playing, pitch dark in my room, and like I didn't get it, and it took a while. It was so cool and creative where you walk through that first L and you go through the door and you're like, wait, I just came out of this. And you try to back up, and then you go a third time, and then you start figuring out that that's part of it, and then you start seeing the stuff changing, and like, it's truly brilliant. And then when you find out that it's all leading up to a Silent Hills game,
You get very disappointed. No.
I mean, to me, it's one of the best games that came out all year. and it's just a little playable demo. So I can't wait to see what the real game looks like.
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus.
Indie games have pushed boundaries that larger developers wouldn't dare to approach and continue to reshape the video game from what it was to what it will be. This year, these are the little games that had a big impact.
All right, that'll bring us to the indie/arcade category for the year. We never really know how to sum this up because indies are usually like 3 or 4 people making a tiny, tiny game, but we just kind of put an all-encompassing thing that essentially anything under $20,
Give or take, you know.
around that area and under, we just kind of slash into indie and arcade. So not huge games that cost $60.
Yeah. Like a single A game.
Single and a half.
Yeah, 1.5 stars.
Usually what American Airlines gets. My indie game of the year would be This War of Mine. It was released on Steam a few months back. Essentially what it is, it's I guess you would almost say it's like a survival game where you command usually about 3 people to survive, and there's a war outside, and the twist of it is you're actually the civilians who are going through the war. So you hear bombs going off in the background, machine guns. The real enemies of the game are the other people. You get raided at night. You can, get killed when you go exploring, and it's a really kind of unique game that you should really try out. So that's mine.
Mine is this little title that kind of snuck out on the PlayStation not too long ago. It's called, I don't know, you might have heard of it, Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
Isaac.
Again, the best way to describe it is it is literally the best non-Legend of Zelda game I have ever played. And that's saying a lot from the guy who has a Zelda tattoo. Binding of Isaac.
It's a
Excellent
Zelda tram stand.
I've been preaching them since I first played them way back when.
Back
Finally
in
came out
my
on
day.
PlayStation.
Well, now it's a Rebirth
Because
as well.
remember, when it's on PC, it doesn't matter. When it's on consoles, when it really comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As for myself, I'm actually going with a smaller game that was made by a bigger studio, and that's Valiant Hearts. I'm a big history buff and war buff, and so they already had a ton of points in my book, but so could be a little biased.
You
but
and I were so in love with that game.
yeah, it was a really, really good game. The puzzles weren't overly. It wasn't like a hard game. They had just enough to them where they'd stump you for 2 minutes and then you'd figure it out and progress. But they just hit it on all sides for me. It's historical. It was about a war, and then they threw dog in there, and it was like, oh man, this is just like my pyramid of awesome, if you will. And then the game was fun too. It had clever puzzles and stuff. Played through it. It's fun, short. It was a good game.
I still have to go back and finish it. Good game.
Every year, someone proclaims that PC gaming is dead. Every year, the PC continues to thrive. It is a flexible platform that hosts a healthy alternative to the curated ecosystem of consoles. These are the PC titles that blew us away this year.
All right, next up is the PC exclusive of the year. It has to be only on PC, and because of that, I don't have an answer. So I'm going to sit this.
WASDA.
I don't WASDA and keyboard and mouse and driver update and whatnot. So I'm going to hang out on this one.
I'll go first since you're more into the PC than I am. My pick for Game of the Year is a game that was absolutely 100% on drugs when they made it. The game itself was on drugs. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they made this. Goat Simulator. I don't know. Nowadays, I'm finding myself more attracted to games like that, or like Surgeon Simulator, or like these little completely insane Octodad off the wall games.
They're not really a simulator.
Yeah, no, and now they've added multiplayer and everything.
Yeah, is it
to
going to be like like an MMO or something?
Yeah, it's Goat
Crazy.
Simulator, Escapes from Hell, and it's
Yeah.
completely off the rails.
That will leave it to me, which the game of the year for PC is World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor. That thing what they did was amazing. They got most of the original crew from World of Warcraft way back, 10 years ago, and they made another expansion. They added some of the most interesting leveling zones they've ever made. They have interesting mechanics in each individual zone. They added mounted combat for once. You get your own garrison that you upgrade, and you have, almost like a game inside of it of gathering resources and, building it up, which is so cool. I sunk a lot of hours into it, and good job, Blizzard. One more time, you're up to 10 million subscribers. You're up to 10 million subscribers once again. Good job.
People used to say you can't take it with you. Now you can. Portable technology is growing at an alarming rate, as is portable gaming. Here are the portable games that entertained us no matter where we were.
All right, the next category up is the portable game of the year. We essentially threw phones, tablets, the 3DS, and the Vita all together in one.
Oh, I love the device.
Don't forget about Google Glass now.
Oh, and Google Glass, and the NVIDIA Shield, and other such things. So.
No, that's not really portable. I'll kick it off. I selected Badlands as my favorite mobile game of the year. It's on your cell phone. I think they give the first 40 levels for free. It's almost like an infinite runner where you're like a little bird and you kind of got to tap on the screen to get through the puzzles almost. It's a cool game. Give it a shot. It's free. Why not?
My portable pick of the year went to Binding of Isaac. It's one of the few games that I specifically bought a Vita for.
Yep. It's
good.
awesome game. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I am going to go with Final Horizon, which is a free game on PlayStation Plus that came out pretty recently, the last 2-3 months. Maybe it was an October game, something like that. Anyways, I talked about it at great lengths a couple episodes ago, but just in case you didn't catch that one, it's essentially shortened, smaller, mini snippets of tower defense. And you don't have to start from scratch where it's okay, let me build this one tiny weak tower against this one enemy, then I save up a little money to build this up a little bit better. Now 2 guys come at me and I can buy another tower. No, they throw you in the middle of the chaos. There's already 7 or 8 towers. A few things are damaged, and the enemies are already coming at you full strength. So you got to kind of repair stuff, fix stuff, build new stuff, hold the horde back, all while doing primary and secondary objectives. And all of it lasts 6 or 7 minutes. They're perfect for the Vita. You either fail and have to restart, or you pass and move on to the next little snippet. It's a really fun game that I think you should try, and it was free, so that doesn't hurt anything either.
Multi-platform developers have a hard job. They make the same game several times over, so that no matter what console you own, you can enjoy their work. These are the multi-platform games that shone brightest this year.
All right, the next category we have up is the multi-platform. This can be anything as long as it's on more than one. That'll make it multi.
Hence the multi.
That'll be multi. Sir.
I'm giving mine to Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein.
If you haven't done it already, it is a phenomenal shooter. Has a really good story to it as well.
Literally.
And long. Literally. Go for it. Shoot things. Shoot Nazis. And if you don't, you obviously love Nazis.
My game has no Nazis, but it's got plenty of hookers. It's GTA. Again,
That's a multi-generational
multi-platform. Yes.
It's a new category.
I'm specifically picking it for the next gen, which was just recently re-released, because they didn't just spruce up the game and send it out into the wild. They added new features into it. First-person mode. You can now find peyote plants, and when you eat them, you hallucinate and turn into animals. Sharks and bears and shit.
And the heist will be out one of these years.
Yeah. But I mean, they went back in and they really brought the world even more to life for the single player campaign. With, like I said, a bunch of new features, new vehicles,
guns.
new views, new guns, new areas to explore. GTA 5.
I'm going with South Park: The Stick of Truth again. I talked about it at great lengths earlier in the show. I just think it's my favorite game of the year.
It's the bee's knees.
And I'm glad it
Is
was
it bees?
available on multiple platforms for everybody to have the opportunity to enjoy it.
Honorable mention for last gen game of the year. Because it's not on current.
What?
South Park.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Gaming's most controversial subject is also its most booming new segment. These are the games that you love to hate and hate to love in 2014.
All right, the next category up is the free 99 category. This is another new one. Actually, this is the first new one on this show that we're trying out for this year. And this encompasses free-to-play games and games that were given us for free via PlayStation Plus, as well as games with gold. So essentially stuff that you got to play for free 99.
Kicking it off, I am going with War Thunder Ground Forces that launched this year. War Thunder, of course, has been out for about a year or two. They launched the tank version of it, and it's really good. It's completely different than World of Tanks, so it's free 99. So get it.
Binding of Isaac Rebirth was free on PlayStation Plus. Gave me a reason to turn it on.
You would have paid for it.
I would have paid for it. Actually,
Twice.
I did pay for it because I bought it for the Vita because for whatever reason I didn't get it free for the Vita. I got it free for the PS4, so I did buy it. But it really kind of got me into the whole PlayStation indie scene that I was really ignoring.
I know you were.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell you.
Shut up. Binding of Isaac.
As for me, I'm actually going for a older game, but it was free this year. That's BioShock Infinite, one of our Game of the Years last year, or was at least in the running. Lost in the finals, but still one of the best games ever made, and they gave it away for free on PlayStation Plus in March or April of this year, earlier this year. It was so surprising because it was a pretty new game, and they gave it away like within 6 months for everybody to play for free. Awesome game.
Some games are so wonderful, you can't wait to play them again. Sometimes new technologies allow developers to reimagine great works. Yes, you've played it before, but never like this. These are 2014's best remakes.
All right, this is our second new category that I was getting confused with earlier. Jeez. And that's going to be something new. We're trying out the remake of the year with the amount of HD ports and remakes and rehashes
The collection.
and re-releases and collections. It's just like, all right, fine.
Handsome Jacks.
Fine, we'll give it a collection, or we'll give it a category. So the remake of the year.
I am going to go and give it to GTA, but I will give honorable mentions to Last of Us with its 60 frames a second, and Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider actually had a really good remaster remake. So, woohoo, hair physics.
Forgot about Tomb Raider.
Yeah, Tomb Raider. Yeah, good hair physics.
I picked Halo mainly because I did not have an original Xbox, and
Sucker.
granted, I could have bought the Halo collection on
Halo Anniversary.
on 360. I didn't get into it right away, and so now it's giving me the opportunity to have them all on one disc in one location and really kind of experience the entire universe.
I also picked Halo. To me, it's one of the best deals in video game history. 2 games that you weren't able to play online anymore, and a third that's a ghost town. Now are all back, up-res, spanning multiple generations, all together on the newest system. And if they include ODST, which is coming soon, and Reach, you have all your Halo ever all in one place.
Star Wars.
Let's hope for
That was a
Gears
different
of War.
studio.
Let's hope for Gears of War next for remakes.
Yeah, hopefully next year we'll be
1, 2,
telling
3.
you about Gears of
Judgment.
War collection
Yeah.
as remake of the year.
Yep.
I guess you guys can have an opinion or whatever. The Wii U has finally started finding its footing. 2015 looks to be its most promising year yet, but its strong foundation began building in earnest this year. Here are the games from the third pillar that is Nintendo.
All right, we're starting to get to the nitty gritty here. We're going to be talking about the Big N's Game of the Year.
I am a sucker for Mario Kart, and Mario Kart 8 filled my fantasies. Need I say more?
My pick was Nintendo going outside of their comfort zone and handing off one of their biggest properties to another company, which they've done once in a while, but this was kind of on the big console. So, and that's Hyrule Warriors. Even though it's literally just Dynasty Warriors with a Legend of Zelda skin over it, they do
That is
enough.
literally what it is.
Mark pen pending.
They do enough to dress it up and really bring you into the Zelda universe. And on top of that, and I mean this in a positive way, as boring as the gameplay is, there's a really cool story that's playing out there too.
Should you even have because it's so boring in your game here for Nintendo?
It's Dynasty Warriors. It's like 3 buttons, but
added another button.
it's so repetitive that it's actually fun to play.
I
and
know
like I
Dynasty
said
Warriors can be
earlier
fun to match people around.
with Nintendo embracing DLC now, it's really taken this good thought, okay execution, and kind of expanded upon it and really made the game flourish more.
As for myself, I'm going with NES Remix 2, which narrowly beat out NES Remix 1.
Wow, what gave it up? The upper hand.
I think I liked the games a little more in the second one. The ones that you had to replay. The first one, I feel like they were toying with it, and you got your Marios and you got your like Kirby's, but there was like really obscure games in there where it was just like, okay, like
Wrecking Crew.
I don't remember playing some of these even as a child, so like I don't know all the secrets. And then you'd play like the Zelda map or the Mario map, and like of course you knew where the hidden 1-up is or exactly where to put the bomb, to expose the cave or something like that. And then this weird obscure game, it's like I don't know what to do
Wrecking
here.
Crew, Warrior Woods, and
Yeah,
things like that.
And I feel like the second one embraced it more, and there were still a couple oddities, but more or less it was the bigger games.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the second one.
The second one's got some weird ones too.
Wrecking Crew, Warrior Woods.
But yeah, but I felt like I knew those more, and they were a little bit more fun, and I like how it was spread out more.
Dr. Mario.
They're very close and very similar, but I like the second one a little bit
I
better.
think it should be part of best remake of the year.
No, it's not that.
It's a remake.
No.
It's whatever, but it's not even close to the
I'll
best.
put it in one pack.
Next category.
The Xbox One faced an uphill battle this year. Competition in this console cycle is fiercer than ever. Microsoft differentiates itself with a fantastic launch library, and these games were the best of the bunch.
All right, that'll bring us to our next category, and that is the Xbox Game of the Year.
Expo.
Xboom!
I
Hate that
am
name.
giving this one up to Sunset Overdrive. It is the console. That was the bundle I bought. Was a Sunset Overdrive bundle, and it did not disappoint. It plays out like a mix between like a Ratchet and Clank with all the guns and like an Infamous with you're able to go anywhere wherever you want.
I think you meant a good Infamous.
A good Infamous. I like all of them but two. So I love Sunset. Great. It's funny and it's got Nolan North.
Sunset is my choice also. I absolutely loved the multiplayer experience of it. I loved the horde mode kind of that they had going on for the last mission that you did. The one downside is there was no co-op campaign, which I think would have even elevated the game into higher contention for some other categories. All in all, for a first time them going out with this property, I think they did a great job.
Mine is also Sunset Overdrive, but I'm actually going to give it to my runner-up just so we can talk about another game that I feel deserves some attention, and that's Forza Horizon 2. That was nipping right at their heels in my book. This is what next-gen racing should be. Worked great right out of the box. It's gorgeous. There's tons of content supported for it. Tons of people are playing it. Multiplayer functions, single player functions. Everything works. And
I love
it's
how that's a
fun.
tagline.
It's
Things work.
fun. Well, the only other two racers we have to compare it to was Forza 5, which was, let's be honest, a kind of gutted down, rushed version. And it worked as well. But you didn't get a whole lot of content because it was the first game on the next generation. And Drive Club, which still to this day doesn't work. So it was kind of a blessing in
I wouldn't
disguise.
know. I haven't got to play it yet.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Because you're supposed to let me borrow it like a month
What?
or two ago. Forza Horizon.
Oh, yeah. Add on to that the fact that they added Forza Hub, which I know it's just an add-on app, but it's more than just some dumb little gimmicky thing on the side. It keeps you up to date with what's going on. It ranks you on all of your Forza progress throughout the years and calculates them into, like, it's kind of like an RPG, like level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever. And it takes into account everything you've ever done with Forza. It goes backwards to the previous Xbox, which is really cool. Ranks you with all your friends. They're doing like really Halo-esque type stuff where it shows individual tracks and your fastest times ever with everyone, and even in previous Forzas. When you unlock certain things, they give you a ton of money through the Forza Hub that you can only access through there. It's a free app. People don't know about it. And then you go into that, and they just throw money at you for doing next to nothing. And not only do they give it to you in Forza 2, which is what Forza Horizon 2, which is what it was created for, but they actually throw the same amount of money to you in Horizon 1 back on the 360, as well as Forza 5 and Forza 4. So you can go back and play those games, and you have millions of dollars sitting in the bank. And it makes it cool because there's a lot of ridiculously expensive cars that usually don't end up acquiring, and I play Forzas a lot. There's just some cars that are like $12 million, and it's just not worth. I have faster cars that were like $80,000 or $90,000. It's just like you're just pissing away $12 million just to say you have that car in your garage, and this actually makes it
Your
achievable.
adder.
Huh?
His adder from.
Yeah, you're just doing it for like a whatever to make it look cool.
I bought $1 million car. I'm
Yeah.
Jason.
This guy does that stuff.
Sony snatched the torch of lead console from Microsoft early this year, with the PS4 becoming the fastest selling console of all time. These are the games that drove that growth.
All right, that'll bring us to the PlayStation Game of the Year.
Literally, I don't think there's very many good games that were exclusive to PlayStation that came out this year. One of the ones that I would say was one that stood out to me would be the Last Light DLC for Infamous. So,
Which is a standalone also.
which is also standalone, so whichever you like. I give it to that.
Mine is not exclusive to PlayStation, but is published by PlayStation. It's Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
Jason really likes that game.
Really
Wait, he's done it 184 times on the PS4 version.
Yeah.
I looked today.
That's not even the Vita version, though.
Well, my Vita version is now synced with my PlayStation
Ooh, look
file.
at you using them cross saves.
But this, like I alluded to before, and I know technically it doesn't count in this category, but I'm counting it because it really opened my eyes to PlayStation and what it has to offer.
And what PC has done for you.
PC has done nothing for me.
Nothing.
PlayStation
He's only got 3 gigs remaining. That's it.
I had the PlayStation 4 since March. I've only bought one physical disc. Everything else has been downloads, mostly free. I have bought a couple of games like Octodad, Surgeon Simulator, and on the Vita I bought Binding of Isaac because I absolutely loved it. So these little quirky indie games is what I'm primarily using my PlayStation 4 for, and the one that was the catalyst to that was Binding of Isaac. So again, I absolutely love that game. I don't think I would have liked it as much on PC because you've got to have super accurate controls, and I don't think I would have that with.
It's just weird on PC.
I don't think I would have that anymore with WASD. I wouldn't have.
No, I'll give it to the joystick on that one. I think
Yeah.
definitely makes it pretty
Yeah,
good.
especially playing as Azrael. You saw my sweet moves.
You saw my sweet moves.
Fucking
I
sweet.
got you.
For me, I'm actually going to an earlier game this year, and that is something that if you would ask me at the beginning of this year, I didn't think this would have stood a chance, but it was the best PlayStation exclusive in my eyes, and that's MLB The Show.
The only physical disc game that I bought on my PlayStation this year.
I still own it.
We did a review of it earlier this year. I really, really enjoyed it, and my
The hair.
favorite part was
The hair.
they look so goofy. My favorite part of it was it's the first sports franchise game, to my knowledge, that's doing this, and they basically said, "Yeah, we're resetting everything, but from this point forward, every other MLB The Show is going to talk to this version, so you can continue on
Nice.
your
So
franchise."
what you're
Or your
saying
career.
is it's forward
compatible.
As an honorable mention before we wrap this one up, I don't know why any of us didn't think of it, even though technically it's considered a demo. Something that Tony brought up earlier, and that would be PT.
PT. Also very cool.
Yeah, very very close second place.
I sleep with the lights on because of it now.
That game.
Hundreds of games were released this year, and many of them blew us away. From Skydrop Mechs to Soda Spawn Mutants to Riftborn Demons, these are the games that made us love what we do.
Here is the 2014 forward compatible game of the year and our little trophy.
Our little trophy. It's not an amiibo. We made
It's not.
this.
We totally
made
created
this.
that.
This is 100% pure
Stainless
gold.
steel. Oh, gold.
Stainless gold.
Stainless gold. Can't stain it.
of steel.
At all. Of steel.
It's Wolf Among Us. Yes. We did a secret ballot, and we had to have a tiebreaker, and
Yeah.
all this drama and commotion and
Oh, that's what it's all about.
Somehow Uncharted 2 was on there.
I drew blood at some point.
it was his own.
It's just like, no!
So for me, this is the second year now that a Telltale game wins Game of the Year.
Yeah.
In your
2 out of
eyes.
Yes.
3.
Yes, yes. I don't know. Either way,
Last year was Last of Us.
No, 2. Yeah,
It was-
no,
it was in the-
two
it was
out
in
of
the
last
running.
3 has been
Yeah.
a Telltale
Yeah.
game.
yeah, I think it was the year before that I picked. Whatever.
Walking Dead.
So yeah, they made some improvements on their controls. It wasn't great. It's still not perfect.
It's better.
It is better.
There's still a few
The
hiccups.
storytelling was 100 times better than what they presented in Walking Dead, and I never thought I'd be able to say that. I thought they had peaked with Walking Dead, and I think next year we'll be talking about Telltale again with what they've got coming.
It's starting to look like Walking Dead Season 1 is their worst game
Yeah.
of recent memory.
Yeah.
They just keep topping
No, it's still
themselves.
Jurassic Park. We don't talk about that one.
Well, you can go way back to the
Yeah.
other stuff, which was funny and cute and comical, but
Yeah.
not very good games. So, but in recent memory, post Walking Dead, when they really turned it up, I think they just keep topping themselves.
I loved how dark the story was. I mean, you're investigating murders, and there's a huge story, and you find scandals everywhere. It's really cool.
I love that they took polar opposite. Walking Dead is huge. It's everywhere you go. They took a very lesser known property / comic book and really brought it to the forefront. And in my opinion, instead of being in the shadow of a series like Walking Dead, they far exceeded it with Wolf Among Us.
If anything, I'd say they make the original comics more popular.
Yes. It's going to be very hard for them to pull off a season 2 to Wolf Among Us with the way that it plays out leading into the comics. They just launched the digital comic for it. And the funny thing is Fables was on its deathbed. Issue 150 is the end of the series, which may be out already or it's like a month or two away.
Not
And it's
tomorrow.
done. So I'm interested to see how much this is going to reinvigorate the series going forward.
Yep. As for me, I thought it was an amazing game. I was telling them how badly they needed to play it, and everybody's just kind of like, yeah, fucking Tony.
I played it along with you.
Fucking Tony. He
I was
doesn't
waiting for the
know
disc
shit.
release.
I hate that Tony.
I jumped
You
all
should have
over
heard
that.
these guys.
I jumped all
that
over that,
fucking
like,
Tony.
yeah.
He don't know what he's talking about, that bastard.
I jumped
Well,
all
most
over
cases,
that.
you're right.
Like lice on your balls. All over it. That's why he shaved his head.
I thought it
That's
was.
why I've been itchy lately.
I thought it was an amazing game with a great story. This was not the one I personally voted for Game of the
No.
Year, but it's
You were forced into it?
It's a culmination of forward compatible. The same reasons.
Randy.
It's the same reasons I felt that Walking Dead didn't deserve it a couple years ago, if that is what we picked. It's as great of a game as it is. It's too broken to be the best game that 2014 has to offer. I think there was more complete, better running games, but Wolf Among Us is definitely one of my favorite titles, so I'm not upset about it in any way, shape, or form. It's a great game.
Honorable mentions. Do you remember what they were?
I know that Wolfenstein got quite a few
That
nods.
was number 2, I think, right?
well, there was
a
a
tie. It was a tie.
Wolfenstein, Far Cry, and
Those were tied for second.
and this and Sunset
Yeah.
Overdrive was pretty close as well.
yeah.
The one thing I still don't get with the Telltale games is why is it when it saves is when it seems to like freeze for a while.
Stutters,
There's
like
no
the
idea what's
system's
going
gonna
on.
break it.
Like
and then
that-
you see saving, and then it's
That
back
how
to perfect.
Bigsby
but-
didn't have a cigarette through my second.
Well, you know that's just because nobody likes you.
And I should have probably mentioned this at the top of the category, but although we let remakes and rehashes and all that other stuff flood some of the other categories, in Game of the Year, it could not. Like Halo was excluded, Grand Theft Auto was excluded, Binding Isaac was excluded, all that stuff. So just to clarify,
And yes, technically, Chapter 1 and possibly 2 came
I don't
out
remember.
in 2013. but
majority of it was 14.
the retail release of the game, the physical disc version, was 2014. So
The
that's
majority of the content was
Yeah,
in 2014. So
Yeah.
Why. Yep.
So that's how we decided on that.
You're the best.
You're the biggest.
Way to go, Bigby.
Until next year.
All right, guys. So, fuck that Wolf Among Us bullshit, all right? That game was broken as shit. We're not going to count that as the 2014 forward compatible Game of the Year. So, what we're going to do right here and now is hand out the award to the true winner of 2014 Game of the Year, Uncharted 2.
Tony, what are you doing to yourself?
Show us off.
Nothing.
Are you still talking about Uncharted 2?
No, no.
Damn it! You suck! Here's your cigarettes!
Lame.